Hey, book lovers! Welcome to While I Read. I'm Katie Dodrell, and today I'm going to talk about cozies and comedies that feature cruises. How about the alliteration there? I always love to read books that go along with what I'm doing in my life. My mom and I are about to take a Caribbean cruise, so I've been in the mood to read some books that feature cruise ships. So let's get started talking about these books. The first cruise book we'll discuss today is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. Death on the Nile features Christie's famous detective, Hercule Poirot. In this book, Poirot is on a luxury cruise ship on the Nile River in Egypt. Of course, being an Agatha Christie book, you know there's going to be a murder, and there is. A young woman is murdered on the cruise ship, and everyone on the boat is a suspect. I first read Death on the Nile 2 or 3 years ago, so I don't remember it perfectly, but I do love Poirot. He's funny, fussy, wise, and very kind. I also remember that I loved the description of the luxurious cruise ship and of the passengers. It was a very suspenseful, fun book to read. My mom and I have to drive down to Fort Lauderdale for the cruise, and I was thinking we should listen to an audiobook while we drive. This might be the perfect one. What do you think, Mama? Next, I want to talk about The Floating Feldmans by Elyssa Friedland. This story is about an extended family that goes on a cruise for the matriarch of the family, the mom's 70th birthday. The book has a lot of characters in it. So there's the mom and dad, and then their adult daughter and her husband and their two teenagers. And then there's also an adult son and his much younger girlfriend. The book is written in third person point of view with different chapters following different members of the family. There's also a cruise director who has a few chapters following him too. The family has problems getting along, and the mom is trying to force them all together on the cruise ship. They all have secrets that they're keeping from each other. Of course, funny hijinks ensue. This book focuses on some of the negative or funny aspects of being on a cruise ship, like all the crowds, people breaking in line and fighting over chairs, the somewhat claustrophobic atmosphere, even on a big ship, because you're kind of stuck. I think of this book as a comedy, but I just saw it advertised on Amazon as a drama. It definitely has some serious and even sad aspects to it, but ultimately it's a warm and funny story about a family learning to get along and love each other in spite of their differences. The next cruise book I'll discuss is Tidal Wave by Lorna Barrett. Get it? Tidal Wave? I love the punny titles of cozy mysteries. I just read this book last week and I loved it. It's actually the 10th book in the Booktown Cozy Mystery series. This series follows an amateur sleuth and bookstore owner named Trisha Miles. Most of the books in this series take place in the town of Stoneham, but this book features Trisha on a cruise along with her sister. It's a cruise for mystery lovers. It has lots of authors of mysteries, and it's full of events for people who enjoy reading mysteries. Trisha's main goal on the cruise is to read and relax. She just wants to sit on her balcony or on a deck chair with a book the whole time on the cruise. That's actually my main goal on my cruise too. Of course, one of the authors is murdered and Trisha finds the body. She has to investigate and figure out who done it. This book is full of fun cruise ship scenes. The characters get dressed up to eat in the ship's fancy dining room. They visit a lot of different bars on the ship. Trisha keeps finding cozy places to read her book. There's also a character who rides around on a scooter and mows people down sometimes. So it's just got a lot of really good cruise ship scenes and really got me in the mood and ready to be on my cruise. Next, let's talk about The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This was actually my first book by Ruth Ware, who is one of my favorite authors now. I read this book several years ago. It's about a journalist named Lo who goes on a luxury cruise in the North Sea. Everything is fancy and beautiful and comfortable, but one night Lo is convinced that she sees a woman being thrown overboard. But all of the passengers are still there, and no one believes Lo when she says she saw someone murdered. The book is beautifully written, very reminiscent of Agatha Christie, and I remember just tearing through it the first time I read it. I've considered rereading it before I go on my cruise, but I remember that it has some not so pleasant aspects or things that could happen while you're on a cruise, like bad weather or, people getting thrown overboard. I hope that doesn't happen on my cruise. But even though I don't want to read it again right now, it really is a good cruise ship book. So the first 4 titles that I talked about were books that I've already read. These next 2 books are ones that I have not read, but that I have bought to read while I'm on the cruise. I've got another Agatha Christie book called Problem at Sea. The synopsis says that it's a Hercule Poirot short story. In this one, he is on a cruise ship headed for Egypt. If you remember in Death on the Nile, he's on a cruise ship on the Nile River in Egypt. But in this one, the ship is on the way to Egypt. Of course, there's a murder on the cruise and Poirot has to solve it. With it being a short story, it probably won't take me very long to read it, but hopefully it's something that will keep me entertained on the cruise. When I was researching books to read that feature cruises, I found out that there's a cozy mystery series written by an author named Hope Callaghan called, appropriately, Cruise Ship Cozy Mysteries. It features a senior citizen sleuth named Millie who gets a job as a cruise director, but just as she's getting started, she becomes involved in a murder investigation on the ship. I usually like books with older women sleuths. I also read that this book has a Christian theme, which is unusual, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I'm planning to read this book on the boat, so I'll let you know how it is. So there you have it, 6 books that feature cruising. I'm looking forward to going on my cruise and getting lots of time to read and telling you about all the books when I get back. Now, go swim with the dolphins while I read.